how Dave Sauers built luxury from the least glamorous industry on earth. What do restrooms, tailgate TVs, and bush campers have in common? One visionary who saw what others ignored. In this episode, I sit down with Dave Sauers, founder of Royal Restrooms and serial entrepreneur, to unpack how he's built thriving businesses in the most unexpected industries. We talk product market fit, the mindset of a modern founder, and why your next big idea might be hiding in plain sight.
It's time to reinvent.
Welcome to the Lessons of Entrepreneurship, the journey of reinvention. And as always, I have a very interesting guest for you today. I read Dave's story and I said, Dave, we need to talk. Dave, please let me know who you are and what's your mission.
Sure. My name's David Sauers. I'm from Savannah, Georgia. I am probably more of a entrepreneur, kind of jack of all trades. I like creating stuff. And my main business was Royal Restrooms. I'm the co-founder of that, which we've been in business for 22 years, providing executive luxury restroom trailers for events and weddings and stuff like that. And then I've got several other businesses that kind of feed into the events business. And then I also own a recreation camper company called Kruger Bush Campers.
This is going to be interesting. Dave, it seems you have a knack for identifying opportunity that we all walk over. I can imagine everyone complaining about a restroom situation everywhere they go, but no one actually doing anything about it. How do you filter through identifying business opportunities in these overlooked markets?
It's exactly what you said. When we started Royal Restrooms, it was a market that is something that you don't necessarily want to have to deal with. You don't want to think about it anymore. It's still very private. And so when you go out to an event or when you even leave the comforts of your home, going to the restroom is always a little bit, people are on edge. It's kind of, ooh, what's it going to be like? And it's just one of those things that people want to put it out of their mind. They don't go past that step. It wasn't that the technology and the resources were not there. It's just that nobody thought to change the norm because they didn't really want to deal with it. And all we did was provide real functioning restrooms on trailers. And it was a big disruptor within the events organization. And now pretty much worldwide, everybody wants a nice functioning restroom facility.
That's so true. People often talk about find your customer's pain point. Talk about pain that no one wants to look at. I love your approach to business. And it's a perspective that people don't hear about because everyone is looking for these shiny influencer businesses and talk about practical solution to a pain that someone really has. Now, what led you to creating a premium brand? Because I can understand that maybe you'd have wanted to solve that pain, but what made you say, okay, we're going to go luxury? The story behind that.
Absolutely. Going back to your previous question, and this kind of leads into it. There are problems every day that people see. They just have to look beyond what the problem is and try to find a solution. And that is inherent in every day-to-day business. You see it all the time. But when it came to the restrooms, we looked at who would accept this first. At what expense, at what level would you want to pay for this service? Even though it's not technically a premium service, it really was a premium service, but it was the same service that you're used to every day. And so we targeted weddings and high-end events first to see about what they would think about it. And what happened was every time somebody sat down on that toilet, they weren't going back. So all of a sudden it started to feed into, this is what we want for everything else. The second thing is Robert and I are huge parts of the community. We want to see our community prosper. We want to help out. And there are so many nonprofits and events that are outdoors that support such great things, from March of Dimes to Down syndrome. We're able to be a part of those events by providing a restroom trailer, which elevates that event. And giving back to the community, there's a sense of pride, there's a sense of gratitude, there's grace. So many of us were blessed with so many things that we don't realize until something bad happens to us. And there are a lot of people in this world that haven't gotten 100%. And when you are a part of that many different nonprofits, you start to understand it and you start to become more thankful for who you are and what you're doing. And you can sleep a little better.
To be a part of community and to give back. I think that's a message that a lot of business owners need to hear, because sometimes, of course, you've got to get to the money first. So you've got to have a model that you verify. And once you get to the money, then you have the opportunity to give back and to really make a difference in your community. Dave, something that you said earlier, which I think it's the definition of disruption, is when people experience something and they are not going back. That is what it means to disrupt an industry. So you get this concept and you think, okay, who can we sell it to? Who will be willing to pay money for this? And how does it go from concept to your first sale? What was that like?
When we first targeted the market, like I said, we went after high-end events, weddings. We went for those one percenters, the place where people were going to spend a little extra. And weddings, you're trying to make such a memorable day and make it just magnificent. You want it to be that Cinderella story. So people are willing to spend a little bit more money for those conveniences. And if we're all in nice suits and dresses and it's a huge celebration, nobody wants to go into a porta potty. Nobody wants to feel that. You want to go into something that is, hey, wow, you know what? Let's get back out on the dance floor. Let's grab another slice of cake. I can do this. It doesn't mess up the rhythm of your event. And by providing nice facilities like that, we were able to sell it. And it wasn't that hard of a pitch.
As entrepreneurs, you have this concept and then you try to sell it and you get feedback that leads you to where you should go. Was this initially between you and your partner? I'm guessing you mentioned your partner. Was this something that you initially said, you know what, let's go to weddings? Or did you try to sell it somewhere else and then you realized the feedback, maybe you needed to rethink about it? That process that someone who may be in that space may be thinking about.
So I think that goes back to a little bit of the origin stories of Royal Restrooms. I was taking my two daughters. We were at a Shakespeare in the Park festival, and the oldest was potty training. The youngest was just a few months old, to be honest with you. We went to a porta potty, and I try to go in there. It's tight. It's dark. I turn around. She's touching the porta potty. She's looking down in the hole. I go to panic mode. What do I do? Where do I clean? Just pure pandemonium. You can visualize this. You can think about it. And I open the door. I pass CC off to patron outside. And I'm nervous about that, but I've got Stella. I'm holding her up. I've kicked the door open a little bit so I can see what's going on to make sure the other one. And all of a sudden I get a warm sensation on my leg. I go from nervous to very upset because I'm now getting peed on. And here we are. There's tents, there's chandeliers, there's lights in the trees, there's all this huge festival. Why are we just relegated to a bucket? And I left the festival immediately. I was upset. And I spent about a year sitting on it. I talked about it with my wife. She was okay, but it was still out of the norm. And it wasn't really until I met my business partner, Robert Glisson. We were out on his back porch and we were talking about it. And he's, let's do it. This is a great idea. Who doesn't want a nice restroom experience? It really changes everything in what you do. And from there, we launched it. We were nervous. We were without a playbook, I would say, but we had faith that other people felt like us, that there needed to be a change. And so we went with it. It takes a lot of guts, but if you have passion and you have a purposeful meaning, you can market it.
I know that a lot of people will hear that story and will be able to see themselves in that, Dave. Thank you for sharing that. Now I think you've made a switch to franchise, if that's correct, Dave.
Yes.
Yes. Now, why did you decide, or how did you decide that franchising would be the right model for your business at this point? Because I know a lot of entrepreneurs who may be thinking through this, and I'd love to hear your thought process through this as well.
Absolutely. So franchising was more or less forced upon us. If you're an entrepreneur, you seriously need to listen to the pros on this, because franchising is entirely separate from the model that you're actually trying to sell. It's a different business. It's a different animal. And so many people try to run it as the same. And we made that mistake. It's a hard one to swallow, but we knew it was a marketable business when other people from around the country said, we need this in our city. We want to do this. People in Las Vegas, in New York, they were ordering our restroom trailers out of Savannah, Georgia. The delivery was 5 times what we were renting it for. So the market, people saw the need. It allowed the movement of continuity and continual process. In other words, if a business had to be shut down because they didn't have a restroom facility for their clients, all of a sudden our facilities provided that. We had handicap accessible restroom trailers. So the entire model was evolving continuously. But we sold licenses first, and then we got in trouble that said that we were a franchise because we were not technically a license. We were telling people that you had to maintain a certain business model. You had to rent the restrooms. They had to be clean. They had to have 2-ply toilet paper. And so we were forced into becoming a franchise. And that was a hard process.
Very interesting. Now I'm going to be really nosy. Dave, when you said you got into trouble and that initially you were thinking that you were going to license the model, what happened exactly? Like, how did you get into trouble for that? And maybe you can distinguish for us what would be licensing and then what would be actually franchise. Because probably a
Sure.
lot of people also wouldn't know that as well.
A license is I give you permission to use my name, or I give you permission to use my logo. Franchising is a proven model that works if you follow the steps. Doesn't mean that you're going to be, that it's out of the box. I'm going to, hey, buy a business. You still have to put in the work. There's still a lot of work. But if you do what we've said to do, it will take traction. It will work if you operate it the way we have laid out. And that's very appealing. That's why a lot of banks, it's easier than just a regular traditional startup, because there is a helping hand and there is a proven model if you do it. But going back to licensing, how we started, as I said, people wanted to rent our trailers in other places. They wanted to bring the same type business to their markets. And they wanted to use what we had already set up, our logos. They wanted to use our marketing materials. They wanted that shared help. And in that process, we charged a monthly royalty fee or licensing fee. And that's how we got in trouble. We started marketing the business as an opportunity. And when you start doing that, there are, of course, a lot of scams and regulations across the United States. And it's just a regulated business. And we had to prove that we were a worthy business opportunity.
Wow. Yeah. It sounds like a really big obstacle opportunity, would you say? Looking back now that things had to be switched the way they were, would you say it was more of an opportunity, or you, let me not lead you, let me hear what you have to say.
Sure. When we got stopped, we had tremendous momentum. We were booming. We had people everywhere wanting to open up offices. And all of a sudden, when we get hit by the Attorney General out of Maryland that said, cease and desist, halt, we were not allowed to answer any emails. We were not allowed to discuss anything. We couldn't even respond to anybody that inquired about opening a business. So it really killed our forward momentum and progress. And when we did become a franchise, we had spent a lot of money trying to prepare and trying to do this organically, when we should have probably gone to a franchise development company that does this that specializes in this, but we tried to do it organically. One, we're stubborn. We had all of that momentum before. We felt like we could pick it back up. Problem was is that we never actually picked it back up. There were a lot of people that copycatted, that opened their own small business, and it made it difficult for us to gain traction again. Over the years, though, we've continued to build and reinvest in our company, which has allowed us to stay ahead of the competition and really for us to continue to be the premier leaders in the industry. So many people look to see what we're doing. What are we changing with our website? What are we doing with our marketing? How can they incorporate it into theirs? And that's flattering. They tell you that's the most flattering thing is when someone copies you, but it's a hard uphill battle.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Dave. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, when they do face challenges and setbacks, can know that because you are the premier leader, such things will happen. And just to wonder, like, how personally you deal with those setbacks. Because when I thought about your business, I thought about the time of COVID where there were no outdoor events. And then now with the franchise thing, like, how do you get back up after so many setbacks? Soon we'll go into your new business, which I'm interested in talking about as well.
From a personal standpoint, you always have to stay as positive as you can, or else you can crawl down a rabbit hole really quickly. COVID was trying for everyone. Everything shut down, events were shut down. But the positive side that came from all of that is it benefited our business because of the attention to more sanitary conditions, the need for our product. Our business has exploded in the US. There are so many government agencies, cities that are saying, no, you have to have this type of facility now to move forward. We're not going to let you use a porta potty. You've got to have sinks. There's just a lot of different cause and effect, I guess. When something knocks you in the face, if you just try to continue to feel that without looking at, okay, what can come out of this? How can we survive this? What can we continue to be thankful for? It's one of the things that my wife is so good at that I desperately try to get into. Something bad happens, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. You're not hurt. No one else was hurt. Nothing happened. We can move on. And I think you have to stay graceful and positive to see, even when there's a bad outcome, there can be a good outcome as well.
Yeah, your wife sounds like an amazing person.
So she
It's
is
wonderful to
very
have.
much.
Yeah, wonderful. Dave, you've now moved on to having Kruger Bush campers. It seems like you have a knack for the outdoors, or you love the outdoors. Am I right in thinking that?
I do. I like doing things outside. I don't like being confined, and being outdoors in events, you get to see how creative people can be and inventive. I've seen some incredible events that you would never dream of, and yet I've seen some of them. And so outdoor spaces is what I enjoy most. And Kruger Bush Campers is one of those things. I like to be where others maybe haven't been. I like to see things that are in pictures, and I like to experience them firsthand. And by starting Kruger Bush Campers, I'm able to achieve that because it's a more off-grid marine style RV camper. So you don't just go to a traditional campground, you camp wherever you can. And camping to me, I'm able to bond and connect with my children, my family. They're not occupied by their phones. We all of a sudden become a team again. If that makes sense.
That's wonderful. I can see that. Even for people who are not so into camping, nature has a restoring, a healing, a bringing people together effect. I can see why that would be a very successful venture. I wanted to ask you, from a point of leadership, you've been in a lot of business, you've started a lot of businesses. What have sort of been your biggest lessons or things you had to really work on as a leader and that you think have been transformative for you?
I'm probably more of an entrepreneur than a true leader, but I think it's recognition that you didn't do this by yourself. There are others that helped you along the way, and it's that appreciation that you need for how you got to where you are, because you didn't just magically happen like so many people do now. They're looking for that instant fame, or they're looking for that instant lottery ticket in their business. It doesn't work like that. It is a process that is continued failures, but they're not failures, they're lessons. And how do you go to the next level? What did you learn from it? And how can you pivot? And
Mhm.
employees, they are your family, they are your backbone, and there's got to be trust, and they have to see your vision. They have to see what you're thinking to be able to follow the direction that you want to take the company.
Powerful. What is exciting you in your space as you look out into the future? I think you'd probably have a unique perspective because a lot of people are thinking AI, robotics, and blah, blah, blah. And that's where everyone is looking. But I'm sure that you're probably looking somewhere else. I may be wrong. And I'm interested to know what's exciting to you and what are you looking forward to in the future?
Yeah. So, like you said, AI, that's on everybody's plate right now. It's still hard to figure out exactly where that's going to play into everybody's world, but it will continue to play into that. In all of my businesses, it is the fact that we make so many different memories. We see so many things. There's nothing monotonous about what we do. We could be at someone's wedding, we could be at a feature film, or we could be at a disaster response. It's coming up on 20 years of Hurricane Katrina, and that is something that will never leave me. That was a traumatic experience, and I didn't even go through it. I just witnessed part of it. So the things that excite me are the fact that I get to continue to make new memories. Now with my campers, I'm able to reflect. I'm able to take some personal time. I'm able to be with my son and my kids and enjoy life, but I'm still able to be inventive. And that's what's so great right now with my life.
That's wonderful, Dave. I had another guest on the podcast who was talking about AI, and he said we're going to have more free time. That's what AI is going to do for people. We're finally going to have work-life balance, and people are going to have more free time. So, hey, go camping. This Kruger Bush campers and get to reflect and reconnect with yourself. Dave, is there something or a message that you want to share with the audience, or something I didn't ask that you feel I should have asked?
Lean on your partner, the ones who love you, the ones who trust you and believe in you. You don't have to hold everything inside. Talk to them. Let them know where you feel. They'll surprise you. And the more you talk about it with your loved ones and your trusted friends, the easier the solutions that come out of it.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you for that, Dave. Dave, I think I totally butchered your last name in the beginning because I said something and then I heard you say something else and we didn't sound the same.
Yes, it's Sauers.
Co-founder and CEO of Royal Restrooms and of Kruger Bush Campers. It's been a pleasure. Dave, where can people follow you? Where can they learn more about what you do?
Sure, you can follow us on any of our social links under Royal Restrooms, and we would love to be a part of any event or memorable experience outdoors under royalrestrooms.com. You can find me personally on LinkedIn under David Sauers. And if you have a knack for a little adventure, Kruger Bush Campers.
Thank you so much, David. It's been a pleasure.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.